Good morning, my XRP army, my tribe, everybody out there in YouTube land. What a pullback we've had, right? Hope you bought the dip. I put in an order for XRP last night at $3, and it dipped actually to 296, and now it's recovering up. What was it? That's 315, 317 this morning, I believe. I also had an order in for Spark SPK, which did not take. Had it at 10 cents. And an order for XCN, which also did not take. I had that in at 0.015. I think it dipped to 0.0169. Got one of them. Accumulated a little more XRP during this dip. There's a consolidation phase, and we're going to see another rise up here before too long. Don't know exactly when. It's not up to me. It's up to you all, and I'm part of that all as to when it starts going back up again. We hit that resistance mark. Hopefully that's a good solid resistance mark, somewhere around $3, and we push up from here, climb higher up the ladder. I want to talk to you this morning about a gentleman by the name of Robert Triffin, who was a mathematics professor at Yale University, and he testified before a joint session of Congress. And now there's a thing called the Triffin Dilemma. And it's interesting that it's only math, but people argue about it all the time. And it's why fiat currency systems can only follow one pathway. And that one pathway is inflation, hyperinflation, and repudiation. He testified in 1959, he testified before a joint session of Congress. And the Triffin Dilemma is essentially the core issue in it is that a country issuing the global reserve currency must supply enough of it to meet worldwide demand for trade, liquidity, and reserves. We're talking about the dollar bill, the United States dollar bill. However, actually, it's not really the United States dollar bill, is it? It's a private banking system's Federal Reserve note. It is debt. We circulate debt as our currency, and that debt comes due. So anyway, back onto the subject. However, running persistent trade deficits to provide this currency can undermine the issuing country's economy and the currency's stability. Simple math, just math. And the conflict is to maintain global liquidity, the reserve issuing country, in this case, the United States of America, must run trade deficits, exporting its currency. And that is the United States' biggest export, is our currency. We export our US dollar. That's our biggest export. And people around the world use it to trade with. Over a time, these deficits can erode confidence in the currency's value as foreign holders accumulate large amounts and fear devaluation or instability. Can anybody say China? Can anybody say Japan? Other nations around the world that hold large amounts of US currency in the form of treasury notes? They're getting nervous. Japan has already said they got to start selling US treasuries in order to generate capital to keep their currency solvent. China's doing the same thing, maybe because of part of the trade war, but all these things, they're not smoke and mirrors, they're not magic. It's all math. The whole thing, it's all about math and confidence. Confidence of the people involved with the system. Lose that confidence, you lose the system. How does it happen? Slowly, then suddenly. So what happens? The system is inherently unstable because the reserve currency country faces pressure to either destabilize its own economy via deficits or restrict currency supply, which could trigger global economic contraction. We see this in the form of the Federal Reserve contracting money supply through raising interest rates or increasing the currency supply via low interest rates. Begin to see the picture? How the machine works, the machinations of it. It's all very, very simple, but they preach to you that it's beyond your ability to understand, so don't even try. They want you ignorant of how the system works because that's how they stay in power. Henry Ford said famously, "It is well that the American people do not understand the monetary system of the United States, for if they did, I believe there would be a revolution in the streets tomorrow morning." Something like that. But that's true. They keep you, your ignorance is intentional. They don't want you to know how they steal from you through inflation. So let's give it a little context. Triffin articulated in the 1960s during the Bretton Woods system, when the US dollar was tied to gold and other currencies were pegged to the dollar. He warned that the US needed to run deficits to supply dollars globally, and that is exactly what we're doing. But this risked depleting US gold reserves as foreign nations could demand gold for dollars. And this is exactly what happened. France got a little nervous and they demanded gold for their dollars. Here's your dollars back, United States. You said you'd give us gold for it any time. Well, here's your dollars back. We want the gold. And Nixon saw the writing on the wall and said, I better close that window. And that's exactly what he did. So what do? People will say, gold and silver, buy gold and silver. Okay, all right. You don't really profit from that because that's a store of value and it protects you from inflation, but it doesn't, unless there's a mad run on gold and silver, you're not going to get gains on it. And I know they're papering over it to keep the price artificially low. You cannot paper over XRP. It is what it is. You cannot paper over Bitcoin. It is what it is. The amount is locked in. So do I consider it a store of value? Short term, yes, I do. I hope you're on the XRP train. Nothing's going to stop the devaluation of the US dollar. The only thing that staves it off is increasing your gross domestic product. And that is what our current president is attempting to do. And yay for him. I hope he's successful. I hope we're all successful. I hope we all buy XRP and become famously rich. And that you do good things with that. That's what I have for you today. That little history lesson and a little understanding of how the math works. God bless you all and have yourself a good day. I'm out.